This is my review of the high-grade Gundam Age Zedas, and this is a 1:144 scale model kit by Bandai. And I have to say, of the three unknown enemy mobile suits, I like this one the best, especially in terms of the actual mobile suit mode. I like the Bakuto a lot, but this design really appeals to me for a couple of reasons. One is the coloring here primarily is, I would say it's more of a blue-gray color. I'm talking about the arms, the legs, the skirt. The majority of the actual model is comprised of this blue-gray color. And then you have this color here, which I would describe as a light gray color. And so you have that sort of a two-tone contrast in terms of coloring, which is appealing to me. Now, the other reason is I like the chest area, and this area in particular reminds me a lot of a shark. You know, here you have the eye, and you have the pointed nose, and you can even argue this would be the mouth. So it really reminds me a lot of a shark, which is why I like this particular mobile suit design. And in terms of articulation, well, you know, your head is on the standard ball joint. For some reason, this head is actually working properly with the Gafren and the Bakuto. I could not, for the life of me, get the thing to stay on correctly, but for the Zedas here, I've had better luck. So I'm not sure what the difference is there, but I'm pleased that this actually is staying on very nicely. Speaking of staying on, these actually do come off rather easily. So if I think about it, I'm going to super glue these in there, and I would recommend you do the same because there is really no need for them to come out. So I would just recommend you super glue them. You've got shoulder articulation. What's cool is you have this joint right here that kind of connects the torso to the shoulder, and of course you have articulation at the shoulder around like that. You have rotation at the bicep, and you have a pretty decent bend there at the elbow, and of course you have articulation at the wrist. And this particular set of hand has the beam Vulcan, and it's on a ball joint, so that can move around. And you do have articulation at the waist, as you can see there. Pretty wide range of motion because there's a lot of room to move the actual waist around, and you can actually have that kind of motion there too as well. You do have leg articulation, which is actually pretty free to move wherever you would want to move it. Back, forward, out to the side just a little bit. That's about as far as you can go out to the side before it's going to come off the ball joint. You do have a bend at the knee, as such, right there. And then you do have, of course, ankle articulation. And you'll see here that the actual foot does collapse like that, and that's due to the transformation into flight mode. So looking at the back of the model kit, there are more points of articulation to make note of. You have the tail here, which does rotate around as well as go up and down. Of course, you have the massive side skirts, one on each side, and you have 2 points of articulation, one here and one here. So you can rotate the skirt forward and also rotate at this point there. And these will become the wings in flight mode. One last thing to make note of, the wings themselves as well as the tail are attached to an assembly, and that whole assembly is going to rotate back, as you can see there, and that is due to transformation into flight mode. Now, as far as accessories go, you really only get an extra pair of hands. And you also get the functionality of taking out the tail here, and it actually becomes the sword. And I'll go ahead and take out the hand here. And so basically you have the beam Vulcan attaching into the sword slash tail, and you have this type of effect, which a lot of people have said it looks a bit strange because he's not really holding the sword. It's kind of just pegged into the palm of his hand, which I agree with, but still it looks pretty cool, I think. To begin the transformation into flight mode, what you're going to do is you're going to pop out these hands and place in the other set of hands. Next, you're going to raise up the tail and then position the wings like so. You're going to rotate this back assembly up like that, fold up the feet. On the back of the thigh, you want to lift up the flap right there and bend back the leg like so. And for the final step, you're going to bring the waist and the torso together with the backpack assembly. Now, Bandai does not show you in the directions, but there is actually a polycap here, and there is a corresponding peg. And apparently what's supposed to happen is these will come together and somewhat peg together. However, trying this off camera, I was not really able to get them to actually peg into one another, but as you can see, the two sections or two assemblies do come together for the flight mode. They don't really peg in per se, but they do stay in place. And with the aid of special effects, here is the Zedas in flight mode. So my final thoughts on the high-grade Gundam Age Zedas. Well, as I stated before in the review, this is my favorite mobile suit design of the three unknown enemy mobile suits. The transformation into flight mode, it was okay. I mean, the flight mode itself was, all right. Certainly not as interesting as the Gafran's Beast mode. But in terms of just the mobile suit mode, definitely this is my favorite design. Now, there are a couple issues I have. One being that, of course, the hands are connected to the arm via a ball joint and a polycap. And several times in shooting this review, particularly off camera, I found that the hands are prone to basically falling out of the arm. I suppose if you were to use some super glue, you might be able to stiffen up the joint, and maybe that might not be an issue. But out of the box, that was annoying. Second thing that's annoying to me is when you're transforming from flight mode into mobile suit mode, you're going to reverse this step, and that means you're going to basically straighten out this leg. And if you pull down and straighten out the leg, it's going to come unpegged. Now there's this little square or rectangular connector here that goes into a polycap. When you pull down and straighten the leg, going back into mobile suit mode, all the time pretty much this came loose from the top part of the leg. So you might as well just pull it out, straighten up the leg, and then peg it back in. So that's kind of annoying. I don't know if that can be solved with a different type of joint connector, but invariably that's what happened. Straighten out the leg, this comes unpegged, and then you got to plug it back in again. So that was kind of annoying. But having said that, overall, a really nice mobile suit design, a really nice model kit. You know, the flight mode was so-so, but really I like the mobile suit mode here. This is pretty much going to be the last of my unknown enemy or enemy mobile suits from the Gundam Age series. I haven't really found any of the new ones to be appealing. I think the new one is called the Dorado, which is the kind of the purple recolor, and then there's a different recolor, I believe, of the Zedas. And neither of those really appeal to me. In fact, I have built the Gundam Age 2 normal, and you can expect a review of that shortly. Alright, well, thanks for watching. This has been a review of the high-grade Gundam Age 1:144 scale model kit, Zedas.